All right, welcome back, guys, to another video. This is going to be a video about the geoengineering, the things that are happening in our skies. I want to let you guys know that the best thing to do is to use the scientific term to identify what's going on in the skies. If you use the generic term chemtrails and you try to look that up in Google, all the algorithms are set up in a way on Google to debunk anything that has any mention of the term chemtrails in it. So the proper terminology to use, the scientific terminology to use, is called geoengineering. If you are aware of my channel, you know that I've spoken about this topic several times, about the things that are being done in the skies, the things that are being injected into the stratosphere. And those things that are being injected into the stratosphere are not things that are beneficial to humanity. They're not beneficial to all sorts of organisms. They're not beneficial to us. It's not beneficial to the planet. It's not beneficial to nature itself. So I've done a book study on this before. You would have to look at my channel. I've talked about it. I'm just continuing on. So the book is by Dane Wigington. He also has I encourage you guys to research his YouTube channel. He does a phenomenal job of broadcasting weekly installments of what's going on in the environmental world. He talks about the stratosphere, aerosol injections, solar radiation management. He talks about HARP. Most of the things that I'm talking about here in this book, he talks about. But he ties it into the current events that's going on. And I encourage you guys to look at his channel on YouTube. His name is Dane Wigington, and he's with geoengineeringwatch.org. Okay, I'm going to continue my reading. This is where I stopped at last time. It says the program seems to be continuation of weather warfare the United States has been using since we rained out the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Vietnam to hamper troop movements and supply lines. Weather war and manipulation programs have been ongoing worldwide, causing chaos to environmental systems ever since. It seems that to discuss it is a threat to national security. This may be due to the fact that such programs are illegal by international treaties, or because there has been no public review, or they don't want you to know what they're doing because you will object. The entire circus of what we can do has already been done, and its effects are all around us. It's time for full disclosure. If you want to understand the truth about weather geoengineering based on a huge library of facts, empirical observations, and testimonials, you'll need to read this book. There are literally thousands of supporting facts in this book that I'm reading to you guys right now. Observations, pictures, credible whistleblowers behind this work that bring the truth to light. You have been lied to for many decades about this covert program, and it's covert because it's done secretly. If it was overt, they would tell you what they're spraying on you. And then once you know what they're spraying on you, you will understand that what they're doing to us is malevolent in every sense of the word. It's not for our own good. It's evil. Government control and secrecy was illuminated this past year. And this past year, when this book was written, he's talking about 2016. Fast forward, we are in 2024. So he says government control and secrecy was illuminated this past year when President Obama, now ex-President Obama, placed a gag order on the Weather Bureau and National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration to discuss geoengineering after NOAA scientists asked the question in a published paper. So here we go. We have a president in office who puts a gag order on NOAA, which stands for National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. Now, many of you guys have been conditioned to believe that these presidents have a lot of power, and they do not. They're told what to do. And their positions, these are men that have been blackmailed. Because in order for you to have true power, you have to be liberated in a sense where no one has anything above you. So Obama has a lot of secrets. He's done a lot of things that are illegal. His law license was taken away. The narrative of his father being a goat herder is not true. His father is not the man that you guys think his father is. His grandfather was in the CIA, so there's CIA connections that's there. Obama was handpicked and selected to be the president, not because of his credentials, but because he could be used. All presidents, not just him, I'm not just picking on him, all presidents have a shady background that the government can use against them, that the bankers, that the controllers of the world can use against them as a form of blackmail. These are controlled men. So this gag order wasn't put on by Obama because he just feels compelled to do so out of his own selfish motives. He's being told to do that. So presidents are nothing but faces and puppets to the elites, the people who actually run the world. Presidents it's a clown show. This voting thing that you guys think you guys are engaging in to help choose presidents, it's a joke. None of us have the power to choose a president, even if with your vote. They select who they want to be in to further the agenda. Both Republicans and Democrats are on the same wing of the plane, left wing, right wing. They're all part of the system. So I just wanted to echo that sentiment before I begin, okay, or before I go on. So he put a gag order on the NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, to discuss geoengineering after NOAA scientists asked the question in a published paper. So this is the question that was asked by the scientists. They said, are jets accidentally doing geoengineering? As I told you guys before, geoengineering is what they spray in the sky out of those jet engines, right? So they're asking, are jets accidentally doing geoengineering? This secrecy is why no agency will discuss the issue with you or explain the many environmental anomalies witnessed in weather today. And you guys can see the weather anomalies around you. You have a lot of times people come out, how is it extremely hot one day and extremely cold the next day? Like the weather shifts are just amazing. The radical shifts, that lets you know that there's something not right. Weather has a rhythm to it. There's a rhythmic movement with weather as it interacts with the hydrologic cycle of the planet. Nothing gets extremely cold and extremely hot in a short period of time. Things are supposed to gradually get to where they are going. When you have radical shifts like that, it lets you know that the weather is being tampered with, hence the term weather warfare, because weather in itself is being attacked. So that's why it's called weather warfare. It's not weather attacking humanity, it's humanity attacking nature, hence attacking real weather, because real weather is supposed to be an accentuating factor so all bioorganisms on the planet. Weather is not something that's supposed to be disastrous. It's the people who are in control of the systems, with the technologies that they have, that are using weather as a weapon against humanity. That's why when you have so-called natural disasters happen, they blame it on nature. But it's not nature. It's man controlling nature and weaponizing nature against humanity. That's the way it goes. So the question that was asked was that, are jets accidentally doing the geoengineering? And this secrecy is why no agency will discuss the issue with you or explain the many environmental anomalies witnessed in weather today. And it uses shields for disinformation. And what is a shield? A shield is a paid opposition. So a person that may be speaking out against it, but they're acting like they're against the establishment, but they're actually paid opposition to distract the people from actually finding out the real truth, to make the masses feel as if they have somebody in their corner that's going against the mainstream establishment. But what they do, they control the opposition because they place the opposition there, therefore controlling the entire narrative. If anybody posed to be a real threat to the system, they would be quickly eliminated. America is known for assassinating people that are going against the status quo, or people who are deemed to be a threat to the controllers, and they'll just eliminate you and then make up a story why you died. Natural causes, they were sick, they were poisoned, whatever it may be. You'll be assassinated. This is a dangerous program. Read on and learn more. It's time. All right. This is something that William Thomas said. He's an award-winning investigative journalist, former pilot and ocean sailor. He's the author of Chemtrails Confirmed. All right. This is what he said. He says, when I broke this story for Environment News Service in 1998 and popularized the term chemtrails, so he's the guy that popularized the term chemtrails, Neither myself nor the editors of this worldwide wire service suspected the full extent and dangers of this ill-advised climate engineering program. After nearly 2 decades of continuous and aerial laydowns, the spurious cover is pulling the trigger on abrupt climate shift, hastening the terminal meltdown of the Arctic, mass die-offs of forest, untold agony and deaths among Earth community of living beings, and a Permian level ocean extinction event. Bless Dane Wigington. This is what William is saying. He's saying, bless Dane Wigington for carrying on this fight. If there is one person who understands how human-produced climate shift and climate modification have become inseparably intertwined, you will meet him in Geo-engineering, A Chronicle of Indictment. That's the title of the book. It's called Geo-engineering, A Chronicle of Indictment. Dane Wigington is right on. Heed his warning. Stop the geoengineers now. This is what William Thomas says. All right, so I'm going to start. Everything that I just read so far was introductory. All right. All right. So I'm going to read the preface. Geo-Engineering Watch Publishing and Media Company, LLC, has been formed for the purpose of facilitating the dissemination and expansion of the research work of Dane Wigington. For the foreseeable future, any profits acquired from the sale of our publications and videos will be put back into the company to generate more educational books and documentary films. We hope that this efforts will expose the fact that geoengineering, climate engineering, solar radiation management, etc. have been used for many decades without the public's knowledge or consent. Our primal goal is to fully support the effort to bring the truth to the larger public for the greater good. The catastrophic climate intervention programs must be fully exposed and subsequently halted so that our planet may respond to the damage already done. Geo-engineering, A Chronicle of Indictment, that's the name of the book, is the collated collection of articles written by Dane Wigington in 2012 to 2016. We have left the basic structure of Mr. Wigington's work because we felt that in its present form, it conclusively shows a chronicle of progression of events that were gathered and recorded by Dane as the factual evidence of geoengineering climate. Geoengineering, climate, engineering, and solar radiation management. The unique qualities in Dane's writing style, which are so compelling in his public speaking, were found to be powerful and highly effective at sending an impactful, clear message to the reader. There is a heartfelt rhythm to the expression that goes above and beyond all rules. It is our hope that this book will serve to enlighten many who are yet unaware of the climate engineering atrocities occurring in the skies all over the globe. Introduction. This is by Dane Wigington, so now I'm getting into the book. The preface is read. He says, "Thank God men cannot fly, lest they would lay waste to the sky as they have done to the earth." That's a quote. He's quoting somebody there. Thank God men cannot fly, lest they would lay waste to the sky as they have done to the earth. This is before, the ability to fly was created. How telling is that quote? It's saying that thank God men cannot fly, because if they could, they would lay waste to the earth. They would lay waste to the skies as they have done the earth. So first man pollutes the earth. Next is the skies. Now we know how to fly, we're going to pollute the sky. See, the thing that man touches, they destroy. But not the real man, not real humanity. We're talking about mankind. Mankind are the European Caucasian. They're the ones doing this to the sky, not the rhythmic people of the planet. Anything they touch, they destroy. Kill, steal, destroy is their modus operandi. Anything that's akin to nature, they hate. because they are against nature. They're anti-carbon, they're anti-matter. And anything that's anti-matter will instinctively do what it was bred to do. That's destroy things of nature. It was so long ago when I first read the statement from Henry David Thoreau. And Henry David Thoreau is who said that quote about thank God man cannot fly, lest they would lay waste to the sky as they have done to the earth. It was so long ago when I first read the statement from Henry David Thoreau. It was so long ago when I was yet unaware of the war the military-industrial complex was intentionally and aggressively waging against Earth's climate life support systems, and against the entire web of life. Thoreau's prophetic and visionary fears have long since come true. The mesmerizing deep blue skies of the past are now no more. The life I had before, fully committing to the fight of exposing and halting the climate engineering insanity, seems now a distant and fading dream. Our skies are, our clouds, our weather, and life-giving rain all have now been completely hijacked, tainted and contaminated by criminal military-industrial complex cabal that is completely out of control. Global climate engineering programs are the greatest and most immediate threat we face short of nuclear cataclysm. This is a mathematical fact. How did we get here? Why would those in power do this to themselves and to the planet that they and their families also depend on for sustaining their lives and indeed all life? The answers are complex, troubling, and a testimony of man's contempt and arrogance toward his host, planet Earth. Okay, that's a good question. And he's going to answer that question in his book, but I've given my 2 cents about that. This agenda is not terrestrial. It's an extraterrestrial agenda. Again, why would people hurt their own planet that they depend on for sustenance? You wouldn't. Logically speaking, you wouldn't, unless you are a person that's not from this planet. Unless you have a group of entities that are fueled by an agenda that's extraterrene, that's extraterrestrial, outside. Exo means out. An agenda that's outside the sea planet. Extracting resources from this planet for their planet. 13 ruling families of this planet are connected to extraterrestrials. That's been my assertion. I don't have any fact. I haven't seen it. But all the information that I've gathered, that's the only thing that makes sense. Logically speaking, there's no reason why, if you are a part of this planet, that you would intentionally harm and destroy the planet that you are living under. Unless you're not from here. It's an alien agenda. It's an alien agenda, simply put, which gives more credence to the fact that we were created by extraterrestrials. We're disposable, folks. We are. We are disposable. Our bodies are, but our souls are not disposable because we have a special genetic trait in us. But that's a story for another day. But yeah, this is an extraterrestrial agenda for sure, without a doubt. The San Gabriel Mountains in Southern California were the majestic background that rose above the valley smog of Southern California, where I grew up. Our home at the foot of this mountain range provided a good base camp for the constant excursions I made into the mountains to connect with the natural world. When I think of it now, it truly does not seem that it was real. The trek from my doorstep to a pristine trout stream was not so far, and how well I knew the way. So many days spent in the mountains under blue skies, in the boulder-strewn canyons, and on rugged pine-speckled ridges. I sensed even then that it was slipping away. There are moments of understanding that I remember with unexplainable clarity. One brutally smoggy day when I was 11 years old, I was standing on a baseball field contemplating the fact that the parents and the coaches at the game did not seem at all concerned or alarmed about the unimaginable polluted air we were all breathing with visibility of less than a quarter of a mile. The lack of concern from the adults disturbed me deeply. Something was very wrong here. This moment was truly an epiphany, one among many that have been etched into my consciousness. All of the smog from LA and the inland empire would sometimes pile up against the base of the mountain range as there was nowhere else for it to go. I remember feeling profound sense of urgency, a driving motivation to be in a place where the air was always clean and clear. I purchased my first home at 19 and moved out of the increasingly polluted air where I grew up. Hesperia, California was a stepping stone that was closer to the electrical generation projects where I worked for Batchel Power Corporation. The air in the high desert was much cleaner than the inland valley. Though the mountains above my former home were beautiful, alive, and alluring, life dictated that I could no longer spend much time there. My quest for clean air was always my driving motivation. I left Betchel Power and the electrical industry at age 22 as I was not comfortable with conditions in the corporate environment. Morality is not a virtue that is followed by a corporation like Betchel Power, and this depravity eventually affects all who serve such an entity. If one remains long enough in such an environment, the infection can spread. I did not want to become what I saw. So he's here, he took a high ground. He's working for a company that's obviously that has something to do with the pollution of the planet. He's working with a company that has something to do with the air quality, right? So he could either stay with that company, continue to get paid, or take a high moral ground and remove himself from that. Because as he said, when you turn a blind eye to corruption, and you're just in it to get something out for yourself, then you become part of the problem. You become just as corrupt as the corruption that you identify. You can't separate yourself from something like that when you're continually going to it in order to make a living. I know it's much easier said than done, but I commend Dane's moral stand on this subject. He actually stood on something and took himself completely out of it at the age of 22. After 16 years in the high desert of Southern California, I made another big move in search of a clean environment and cleaner air. The Halapuai Mountains of western Arizona were a strikingly beautiful sky island surrounded by desert. I had earlier purchased the highest elevation of privately owned property on the western face of the rugged mountain range. The home I built was perched on a mountain ridge and surrounded by pinyon pines. Further up the mountain were groves of aspen, first, and Pedrosa pine. Though it was beautiful, with stunning unobstructed views, the native forest began to decline rapidly. My father was an arborist whom I spent my summers working for, and I knew something was very wrong. Many of the pinyon pines that surrounded my home were hundreds of years old and had thrived until the transition of decline they were now descending into. Tree ring examinations of multiple specimens made it clear that the trees in the region had not been through such a cycle in their centuries-long lifetimes. I consulted Bureau of Land Management experts only to receive the expected official agency lies designed to pacify the public. The forest to die off was not a natural cycle, it was something much more profound. So there's nothing, he said there was nothing natural about the dying off of these trees. Okay. The long road of relentless and in-depth research began for me in 1999. I searched for and acquired all the credible climate data I could find. The data included massive IPCC research manuals, IPCC stands for Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. The IPCC is the largest scientific panel ever created on any subject in human history. Their studies were extremely extensive and detailed. After in-depth review of the IPCC information and data from many other sources, the gravity of what was unfolding on our planet began to come into alarming focus. Though I had always been deeply connected to the environment and had religiously viewed countless environmental documentaries since, I was very young. There was so much missing from the equation. The memory of the moment in 1999 when I knew I had settled down in the wrong location is still as clear as if the moment was yesterday. The immediacy of the planetary unraveling was now occupying my entire field of vision. Where would I go from here? How would I spend my time? What could yet be accomplished for the greater good? What was my responsibility now that I knew what I knew? So that's what happens when you start to know things. You have a responsibility to act upon the knowledge that you're receiving. And I always tell people, when you know better, you do better. You can't know something and just sit on it and don't react or make a change. No matter how subtle that change is, you still have to make a commitment to change once you know more. Because you knowing more is an inevitable occurrence that will, by default, eclipse your ignorance. So when you have ignorance that's eclipsed with knowledge, then the behavior has to reflect the knowledge that it just recently received. That's the logical sequence of gaining information. You can't just sit on it and look, I know, and not do anything about it. Something has to change. Life and fate seem always willing to lead us. If we are willing to do our part, I had always been aware of many problems in the world, and I had always tried to make a difference however I could. 3 years coaching Special Olympics, 3 years as a part-time volunteer in a homeless shelter, several years in the Big Brother program, doing volunteer work with a disabled Vietnam veteran. All these experiences now seemed such small contributions compared to what was beginning to loom up before me. I had to sound the alarm, but how? I began to pen personal letters to every individual that I had ever known, even business or work-related contacts. I sent out some 400 envelopes, each with a personal letter, each with a copy of an extremely powerful and deeply moving environmental documentary. So few responded or even acknowledged receiving the package. I was truly shocked, but not deterred. The driving motivation to exist in a healthy and thriving environment was now stronger than ever. The tree die-off in the Hao Mountains that I had grown up to love continued to worsen. I knew I had to move on. The research I had done indicated that the drought and the die-off in the United States Southwest will accelerate as planetary warming increased. The best frontline climate modeling projections for a warming world pointed toward an increase in overall precipitation throughout the parts of Northern California and Oregon. Through a series of exceptional circumstances, I found exactly the isolated mountaintop location I was looking for in the wilderness on the east side of the Mount Shasta. In reflection, I sometimes feel this land found me. There were abundant rainfall, 70 inches in a year as an annual average, and the ecosystems were healthy and thriving. In early 2001, I made my third major move in the attempt to find clean air, a still healthy forest, and attempt to try and stay ahead of a rapidly changing climate. With all the research I had done from countless sources, there was a massive factor missing, an issue that went without mention by any official climate science source. Though I had no idea at the time, this missing component was the atrocity that I would soon spend my life and my resources trying to expose and halt: the global climate engineering assault. The home I constructed for my family in Northern California wilderness was and is completely off-grid. It was the cover article of the world's largest renewable energy magazine, Home Power, with a very large solar system, wind power, and hydroelectrical power. All our electrical needs should have been well covered. As the days and weeks went by, I became increasingly perplexed with what was the often far below expected yield of solar power. Sometimes something was wrong. The power output of my solar system was not just a little off, it was astoundingly below its rated capacity. The drop in power was was occurring even on days with no natural cloud cover whatsoever. I had increasingly taken notice of the lingering, expanding jet trails that were blocking and obscuring the entire sky on many days. What was this phenomenon? Why hadn't I noticed it before? Though I had worked on commercial solar power facilities in the past, that was so many years earlier, early 1980s, and I had never noticed the type of solar obscuration that I was now witnessing as a result of the jet's aircraft traffic. Something profound was occurring in the skies above Northern California. Was it happening elsewhere? What was going on? I knew that investigating was my responsibility. not just an option, but an obligation. Okay, I'll stop right there, folks. I'm going to continue reading. Thank you guys for giving me the time to read that book as I continue the book study. It's going to be an interesting book. All right. Thank you guys. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. All right. Thank you guys for listening. All right. Bye.